I think there's something both strange and genuinely exhilarating about watching an actor you've believed in for years finally getting there too. Watching someone you admire not only prove their talent but be rewarded for it. That feels liberating in a way that's hard to put into words. And some actors you realize over time are simply tested for greatness. I'm obviously talking about Timothy Chalamet. And when I look at an actor like Chalamet, I'm reminded that certain people are just built for this business. Not only is he an exceptional performer, but he's constantly experimenting, pushing himself, reshaping his image, and refusing to settle. His filmography is remarkably consistent. Sure, not every film has done massive box office numbers, but I genuinely cannot think of a bad Timothy Chalamet performance. I don't even think that exists. What's been especially fascinating over the last few years is his ability to transform so completely. He can play a disturbing cannibal in one film, a messiah figure in another, and then turn around and portray Bob Dylan convincingly. That kind of range doesn't just happen by accident. It comes from obsession, hunger, and an almost uncomfortable commitment to the craft. That hunger was on full display in his SAG speech last year, where standing in a room full of industry giants, he very deliberately said he wasn't just chasing awards, he was actually in the pursuit of greatness. And that's what separates him for me. He's not just chasing numbers, he's not just building a diverse filmography just to tick those damn boxes. This is someone who genuinely wants to do better than the last thing he did every single time. You don't end up with a filmography like his without that drive. And as an audience member, it's incredibly refreshing to see an actor who actually gives a damn, who isn't just cycling through studio projects every 6 months for a paycheck. He collaborates with real auteurs, works with great directors and actors, and chooses stories that actually matter. One of the biggest takeaways from his recent Marty Supreme press tour is that Timothy Chalamet doesn't just want to be a great actor. He wants to give audiences the experience of watching a movie star again. And that's a lost art in today's time and age. 20 or 30 years ago, we went to theaters for stars. Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Denzel Washington, Tom Cruise, actors who were bigger than the films themselves. That era slowly faded, especially through the 2010s, until the idea of a movie star started to feel almost alien, especially for a newer generation. But Chalamet feels like a bridge. He's bringing that movie star energy back to a modern generation without sacrificing artistic integrity. That's why I admire him so much. He's not just talented, he's curious, he's fearless, he takes risks, and somehow he's good in everything. That's a rarity in this business, and while people love to declare the death of a movie star, I don't think that's entirely true. I think we're watching the beginning of a new generation led by actors like Timothy Chalamet bringing that magic back. Starting with the film that truly became his big break and launched him into global stardom, Luca Guadagnino's 2017 Call Me By Your Name. This is still one of the most exquisite and restrained performances I've seen from a young, still up and coming actor. What makes this performance so impressive is the context. Timothy Chalamet was working with a director like Luca Guadagnino, who, while not being the household name that he is today, was already an assured filmmaker, and alongside a cast of deeply talented, more established actors, and yet Chalamet never once feels overshadowed. He holds his ground in a way that's quietly remarkable. The burden of his role is heavy. He has to communicate heartbreak, longing, and emotional confusion without spelling it out, without big speeches or dramatic outbursts. And he does it almost entirely through stillness, through glances, through what he doesn't say. It's subtle, it's layered, and it's deeply internal. Nothing about it screams, "Look at me, I'm acting." It never feels showy or even performative. That restraint is what makes it so powerful. Every emotional beat feels earned, and by the time you reach the final moments of the film, you realize just how much he's been carrying the entire film. It's brilliant, nuanced work, especially from someone so early in their career. Going back and rewatching the film now, nearly a decade later, it's striking how clearly this feels like a defining moment. At the time, we didn't have full context of who Timothy Chalamet would become, but in retrospect, it's all there. The sensitivity, the discipline, the instinct, it's all there. It's the performance of an actor who would go on to help define a generation of cinema, and that's why Call Me By Your Name remains not just an incredible film, but a foundational chapter in his career, and one I deeply love. Then there's Ladybird. Now, this role here isn't the main focus of the film, he's not the lead, but it's still very crucial. There's a certain energy he brings just by being in the room. Even with limited screen time, he makes it count. His performance is playful and a little bit silly, but never in a way that distracts from the story. He's not trying to steal the spotlight, which is important in a film like this that's not meant to center on him. And it's kind of refreshing to see someone go from the intense emotional depth of Call Me By Your Name to something lighter, smaller, and yet still so precise. Then you move on to Beautiful Boy, which, in my opinion, is one of his best performances and one of the most underrated films in his filmography. If you have not seen it, go watch it immediately, and if you've seen it, you know he is the emotional center of this entire story, carrying so much of the chaos and heartbreak. Working alongside seasoned actors like Steve Carell and Amy Ryan, he never misses a beat. The father-son dynamic between him and Carell is just devastatingly real. It's crafted with such care over the film's runtime, and the emotional weight is heavy, dealing with drug addiction, loss of innocence, and all the pain in between, but it's never melodramatic. There's this particular scene in a diner where he's just talking with Carell's character. It's simple, quiet, and yet it says so much. It's heartbreaking without being overblown. Few actors could hold that space with that level of authenticity, but Chalamet does it so effortlessly. And that's what makes Beautiful Boy stand out for me. It's a film that's technically brilliant in its direction and writing, but the performances, especially Timothy's, are what makes it unforgettable. Honestly, it's the kind of performance that makes you keep going back to the film, and it really reminds you how much range he has even this early in his career. Now, I do think that the Dune films honestly deserve their own separate video, but for now I just want to touch on both of them. When I went into the first Dune, I had not read the books, I still have not actually, and I had no idea what kind of movie I was getting myself into. And I have to say, I've never been more invested in a story than I first was when I saw the film back in 2021. Watching Timothy on that huge canvas, having the space to just exist in this world, to explore this character so freely, it's mesmerizing. His performance flows so naturally, and you can see him inhabiting Paul Atreides completely. The two films feel really distinct from each other, which is part of what makes them so interesting. In the first film, he's the chosen one in training, he's figuring things out, being prepared to take over the throne, and then the world around him collapses. He's forced to make drastic decisions to protect the people he loves, and you can feel that mix of fear, responsibility, and instinct. In the second film, however, it's a completely different Paul. He's matured, hardened, experienced, and every move feels deliberate. The way he communicates in conversations, the weight behind his words, it's sharp, almost unnerving at times. Watching him in the theater, seeing that character wrestle with moral dilemmas while still choosing a side, even knowing it might not be the right or popular choice, was unforgettable. It's incredible to watch the same actor play essentially the same character in two completely different phases of life, first as someone discovering himself and then as someone who's fully aware of the stakes and the consequences. And having Denis Villeneuve directing, guiding that performance just elevates everything. Timothy's ability to carry that moral weight while keeping the character poetic and compelling is nothing short of masterful. Now coming back to Marty Supreme, I think it's been such a long journey for Timothy Chalamet, and this film feels like the reward for all that effort and devotion to this craft. Marty Supreme is nothing short of exceptional, both in terms of storytelling and performances. Watching Timothy on screen in this role, you just feel that there's this sense of focus, control, and artistry that's honestly magical. Watching the press tour over the past few months, you also see him speaking from a place of confidence, not arrogance, but confidence that comes from real dedication. He's honed his abilities as both an actor as an artist, and he's also matured in understanding the business side of the industry. You can see how much he's grown over the last decade and how he's completely changed the trajectory of his career and how he's become a force to be reckoned with in the entertainment industry. And also, before I wrap up, I want to revisit a point I made earlier. I don't think movie stars are dead. Sure, the way we experience and talk about stars has changed in this digital age, but that doesn't mean their impact is gone. A good movie will always find its audience, and someone like Timothy Chalamet is proof of that. He brings people together not just through fame, but through genuine artistry and presence. I don't know what will happen at the Oscars this year. I hope he wins. He's been building to this moment for so long. But even if he doesn't, I think this is just the beginning for him. Timothy Chalamet's trajectory is onward and upward, and whatever comes next, he's already cemented himself as one of the most important actors of this generation. And honestly, watching that journey unfold has been nothing short of exhilarating.